So the last thing that we have to do for the inventory, well, at least for now, is find a way to manage the duplicates we have. So for example, you can see I have one greatsword and I can just keep adding from the same greatsword, which is obviously what we don't want. And I also think I have one weapon wrote it wrong. Yeah, that's the paramacy. Ignore this, you don't need to do this. Okay, so we need to handle all that, well, basically our duplicates. The thing with this is that each item we have inside the inventory, and whenever we add it, it needs to have a unique ID, which is easy since it's a list, and since we want this to be a little bit more dynamic, we just means every time we add something into our inventory, we're going to be adding, we're going to create a class, and we're going to be creating a new unique ID for each of these entries we have. Let's go on the Decision Manager and let's create a new class, which is going to be public class. Let's call it item. Let's call it item instance. I think we don't have it. Let's serializable. Actually, I think we have an item instance, so I'm going to change this to yeah, I'm pretty sure we have. So let's call this item inventory instance, just to be safe. And we want to have public string, the item ID. This is the item ID, not the unique ID. We're going to create an integer for the unique ID. Okay, so that means whenever we are using this, we're going to keep this this list, and we're going to create some new ones. Let's make another header. These don't need to be public, so let's not make a header then. So we're going to make a public list, which is going to be item in inventory instance. Let's call it underscore w items, or let's initialize it. Actually, I don't know why I put the public when I said I don't want it. And same thing again, underscore say items, and well, okay, let's ignore the spells since they don't really matter. And we have W and C items. So we can either do this, well, first let's create it on awake. We're going to be getting everything we have from here, and we're going to be adding it in here. And anytime we add something new to this, we'll also need to be adding it to this. To do this, we need to do a for loop, w items.count. Then we need to be creating a new item inventory instance. Let's call it it, and I'm going to be creating this as well. And we should have now, well, first let's also add let's see, yeah, okay, let's do it like that. You'll see item ID I dot item ID, and now we need to take care of the unique ID. Since the unique ID is an integer, we can just do a plus plus, so each time This will work fine because it's on the awake right now. Okay, so that means it's only going to happen once, but the next time you're going to add a new item, which we'll also see, we need to be taking the unique ID from the last item we have. So we need to find the maximum unique ID, or as a matter of fact, let's just say integer max, let's max unique. Okay, let's say m item mw item index. So assign that as the mw item index or ID, and then do mw item index. We're not going to use that index to find anything, we're just going to use it as an ID. So we're going to basically comparing the unique IDs with a different unique ID. We need one more for the consumables, so let's create that mc item index. And now we are creating the instance, and we also need to add it in here. .add it. We can also create a dictionary to quickly search between all of these if you want to. So for example, we can create I see, why not. It's going to complicate a little bit things, or maybe if we create a dictionary, no, a dictionary won't help because we might have duplicate items. So you might have two sword items. Okay, so in that case the dictionary won't really help you over there, but we can create the dictionary just to quickly find items between our lists. But this dictionary is going to take a key as an integer because our unique ID is an integer, and another integer which is going to be the place, the index you have on this list. The keys can only be unique inside a dictionary. So that means we can just have, this can have any number it wants to have. It doesn't really matter. The reason why I'm not adding the same IDs, even if this is in a list, the reason why I'm just not taking the index from this list is because you might remove an item. If you remove an item and it's not on the final position, I guess, then everything below that entry is going to basically have wrong IDs. Okay, obviously it's not something we want. So let's create this as a dictionary with one items. Let's do the same for this as well. Integer dictionary consumable items. Again, the dictionary is not really necessary, well, at least not for now, because we don't really have volume to care about. So in here for the dictionary we should also do add. The first thing we want to add is the unique ID. Actually no, actually forget the dictionary, because that kind of conflicts with what I've just said, that if we remove one item it's going to break the whole index. So ignore that, ignore the dictionary, and we'll go with the first one. We're just going to search through the list with a for loop, compare with an integer. Okay, and if we have problems later, then we're going to have to figure something else out. So let's do the same for this. item inventory instance it new item inventory instance it dot item ID see items I dot item ID it dot unique ID equals w or c item index c item index plus plus and then underscore c items dot add it. Okay, so now we have two lists. Now we can still do this, we can keep this as it is, and so we don't have to mess with all the rest, since all it does, it just takes items from this list. So what I want to do now though is probably instead of passing the item IDs, I want to be passing the unique IDs inside our items. So let's go where this is called from. Okay, inventory UI. Let's go upwards a little bit. Or actually, before we do that, let's go on Decision Manager and let's create a few functions that are going to basically returning items from here. So let's do public item inventory instance. I'm going to say get item and I'm going to change this to pass the integer unique ID. So actually I want this to be get weapon item, and we're also going to create one item inventory instance get con item integer unique ID again, and let's encapsulate it, so that will be item inventory instance get item, but you need to be passing also the list of inventory instance L with the integer unique ID. So it's going to do a for loop L.count if L I dot item not item ID unique ID equals the unique ID, then return L I, otherwise return false. So in here you're going to say return get item, which now it's going to be underscore c items, and your unique ID return null, this will be, and here return get item w items unique ID. Okay, so we have a function that's just basically going to look through this list, search for the unique ID, and then you're going to be fine. Now on the inventory UI, we basically want to search any other when we are changing the items from over here, we want to change to check if the previous item was placed in another slot previously. Okay, we have our slot type. Let's see where we start. Yeah, so you can see we have here, we have the this, we save the strings over here, so that means that these are actually what needs to change into, instead of using strings, using the unique ID. So this is going to be quite of slightly a big change. Let's do it first for the weapons, because we're going to have to change a lot. Okay, so you can see that when we are loading a list right now, yeah, this is not really wise to do it this way, I believe. So let's ignore that. No, actually that's what we need to do. Change all this into integers. We need to have a unique ID for the unarmed, which let's say it's going to be -1 and -1. We're going to see where we fit those. Let's fix all one by one, and you can see here that it basically looks on the equipped right hand, and it just looks for, yeah, this needs to change. So instead of having the equipped right hand weapon, you need to have the unique ID for those weapons. So let's create something else. We're going to just take it so that yeah, we're going to assume that anything you add over here is just unique, so you don't have duplicates in here. And yeah, this won't be a problem for now, because we know it's going to work. And well, actually this is only going to be a problem when you're going to set up your default ones, because you need to have known integers instead of having remembering from your strings. So that means, yeah, we need to we're going to have to change this a little bit, or at least make it a little bit more elegant. So for over here, we're going to say underscore EQ RH. This is probably going to confuse you a bit. Well, anyway, list integer EQ left hand new list. Oops. Integer. Okay, so we have these two lists. We're going to take this and create new items that are going to be added in this lists, which are later going to be added in these unique lists. Okay, easy peasy. So in here, before we turn everything to have unique IDs, we're going to say that for any EQ RH weapon you have over here, dot count, create item, no, don't create, add them on the weapon items. Weapon items dot add EQ RH weapons I. Okay. Same for the left hand weapons. EQ L hand weapons dot count. Weapon items dot add EQ left hand weapons I. So it's going to take all of this and oops, I think this is wrong. Yeah, this is wrong. This should probably be over here. Weapon items. Weapon items. You don't need, you have an item ID. And this then is going to have to be consumable item. Consumable items. And close that. Yeah, this is probably better. So we take everything we have said, we have our starting gear basically. We take from that, we add it in the weapons list, in the weapon items, and the weapon items is going to turn everything into item inventory instance, and now assign a proper unique ID, which means if I do a search, or if I have a way to say, for example, public void string, string to integer, this is going to be a little bit, it's not going to be that performant, because it has, we're going to compare with a string, but this will only be used on start one time, so it doesn't really matter. So string to integer, we need to pass the string, let's call it s. We need to, let's also pass the, no, actually this will return an integer, and we're just going to do, let's also pass the list in here, which will be list item inventory instance list, like this. So for L dot count, if L, or let's write it a little bit cleaner, if string dot equals L high dot item ID equals S, return, we probably forgot something, return L I dot unique ID. Oops, this will be a comma. Okay, otherwise return -1, or yeah, -1, I guess. Actually, you can just do this string to item instance, return the L1, and just return null in here. So string to item instance, where this is going to come into play is, we're going to say in here, for each, again, EQ right hand weapon we have dot count, find the item instance. So this will be string to item instance. You need to pass the list, which is going to be your weapon. Let's find it. This underscore W items, and EQ right hand weapons I dot item, no, EQ right hand weapons, that is already the list. Okay, so for each equipped on a right hand weapon, we need to assign these integers. So that will be EQ right hand weapon dot add et dot unique ID. Yeah, this might even seem a little bit unnecessary, but you'll see this in a bit why we're doing this. Put count. Let's copy the exact same from above. And we need this to be EQ left hand weapons and EQ left hand add the item unique ID. Okay, let's ignore the consumables for now. Let's see if this is going to work first, and then we're going to change our consumables as well. So this also means that we can basically just tweak this and say add a bool in here and say is equipped. So this can also say that, you know, this is equipped, so this is true. Same for this item is equipped will be also true. And basically just say so that let's have a way to store the slot it is. So this will be equipment slot. Let's call it slot, but we need to include the namespace. So we have this. Now the only problem is that this isn't yet assigned, but we can also fix that. And if we go into our inventory UI, we'll fix this also in a bit. Let's see where we have saved our slots. I think it's on equipment left inventory. No. Well, anyway, it's probably somewhere in here. Let's see. Not here, not here. Yeah, it's here, over here. So it basically means just take our weapon slots. Let's write something in here and say public equipment slot get slot integer, and just take them with the index. And so if index is lower than 3, return, no, actually exactly as it is, return weapon slots with the index. So back again onto our season manager, we can assign the slot over here and say, okay, let's do inventory UI dot inventory UI dot inventory UI singleton. Now this is going to bring one small issue, that this is inside the awake and the singleton might not have initialized first. So the easiest way to fix this is public inventory public UI inventory UI. Let's call this inventory UI, and we're just going to drag and drop it from the inspector, and we won't have to worry about the singleton. Okay, so for the weapons, because these are our starting gear, we can just do EQ slot inventory UI dot EQ slots UI dot get slot, and just pass the index, and it's going to assign it there. Then on your left hand you need to make a target index, and that will be I plus 3. Okay, so again it's going to be the same, inventory UI dot equip slots UI get slot, but this time target index. So not only we know they are equipped, they are also going to be, yeah, they are going to be like this. Let's see, did we make string to item? Okay, get item, get weapon item. So back now into our inventory manager, we see we have an issue over here. This is a string while we want to assign an integer. So instead of doing s eq unhand weapon, we should do s dot get weapon item, and you just need to pass the unique ID, which we do that through again decision manager. Actually, let's change this a little bit more, and let's make this public as well, but we're going to hide it from us because we don't want to interfere with them. And instead of using this, we're going to use this. So inventory manager, let's change this to EQ right hand and then EQ to left hand. So yeah, this only now needs to change the integers. Get weapon item. It's actually correct as it is. So if we just do s.eq right hand I, it's just going to take and assign the new integer into your right hand weapon. Okay, copy that, paste that, and change this to left hand. So this also fixes the issue. We're now passing integers. You shouldn't be messing with this anymore. So let's also add a hiding inspector in here. You don't need to add anything here because you're just going to see numbers, the unique IDs. So it's not really, doesn't really matter. And now we need to change this. So the resource manager, to get a weapon, it needs to take a string, but we don't have the string, we now have integers. That's easy again to fix. We need to find the item inventory instance, it, or it, inventory item instance, no, item instance. Okay, let's go with it. So we'll be done with this. And let's do a call for decision manager singleton dot get item, or this is a weapon, so get weapon item. It's a unique ID. So if we pass our hand weapons we'll take the unique instance, which also means if we do it dot item ID, we now pass the item ID we want to use. Let's save the decision manager somewhere though, like over here, decision manager. Let's go with S, singleton, and let's change all this to S. We're going to take the same thing down here, and this will now be it dot item ID, and this will be hand weapons okay. For the inventory manager, this probably enough, but the inventory UI will now we will have to change quite a few things as well. So the first thing is that we're now having strings instead of the integer we need to now pass. So this current inventory icon, go over here, go to definition, and instead of saving the ID now, which is the ID for the item, we want to save the ID, well, the unique ID. Okay, let's go back now, and this will now give us quite a few errors, but it also fixes a few more. You can see that for the consumable items we now have the issue. Let's ignore this for now. I'm going to put a bookmark. I want to see if it's going to work fine first for the hands. So instead of unarmed, I'm going to say -1. I'm going to do a check when we are assigning weapons. So if a weapon has -1 index, okay, obviously you cannot search through an array with -1, but if there is a weapon that has -1, it's just going to revert into assigning into assigning, come on, the unarmed. So icon ID, item list, instead of assigning the item ID, we now need to assign the let's say this is an item. Yeah, that's kind of an issue now. Okay, so we have the item, the exact item, but we need to take it as an item instance. We have the item ID though, which also means if we do inventory, actually since this is the inventory UI, let's go on the top, let's assign the references. So this is going to be your season manager. Let's call this season. Let's find the init, which is over here. The first thing you want to do is season manager dot singleton. Okay, so you don't call this any other way. Let's do Ctrl F. Now this is going to just be season. Get items at list. Okay, we're only calling it 2 times, which is fine. And we now want to have item inventory instance. Let's call it instance, and then going to say season.get. Let's do we know if this is, yeah, we have the item type. Where do we use this? So we only use it over here. We have the list. Well, anyway, okay, let's also test it in here. Say let's no, t equals item type dot weapon. No, that's not going to work. We're going to do it like this. Item inventory instance will be null. We'll start null, and then we're going to do a switch with our type, and if it's a weapon, season.get weapon item. The unique ID, yeah, we need to know the unique ID. We already have, no, we don't have the unique ID. No, I think we do, don't we? It's an item icon ID. Now this needs to take an integer. Load current item. So let's go over this one more time. This gets you all the items you have. Item list, okay. Prefab EQ slot template, inventory slot grid. I'm going to create you my inventory index, okay. Current created items. It's going to create a new icon base. Current inventory index, item lists. Yeah, this needs to also change, unfortunately. So let's see, I think we might need to change this. So this, instead of loading all the items, to load yeah, this needs to change. And the way it's going to change is basically we're going to use this list instead of using this. So let's make one more of this. public list item inventory instance get items instance list item type t, and then you're going to do switch t, let's write again t, and then you're going to returning this. If it's a weapon, return w items, return c items, or return null. Let's delete this for now and delete this as well. Now this might, or most likely will bring a few problems on the cases where we don't have, like for example on the, actually even on the items, on the consumable items, but we'll fix them later. Okay, so let's go and use this list instead of this. Get items instance list over here. Load current items. Okay, let's do this and say list item inventory instance. Let's call it again item list decision dot get item instance list t. Okay, so until we've reached the point where we need to be in here, we are searching for for our items basically, and over here we're just simply switching the values or our new values. This, I think this is not longer and more necessary, or it might be, because we have it above on our item list, but it also means we need to find the actual item from the item list. Item list, item, just item. Let's call this item, and now we're going to go into the resource manager singleton. Let's see, do we have a get item? Yeah, we have a get item. The item we want to get, the ID will sit on the item list dot item ID, and the item type is the same as the type we have above. Okay, the T. So anywhere that, for example, the icon, the item list doesn't help us anymore. We need to pass the actual item instead of the item instance, because even if you have the same sword 5 times, okay, you don't need 5 different icons. You only use one icon for each one. But for the ID, which now needs to be unique, you're going to get it from the item list dot unique ID. Okay, so this kind of, we did a nice spaghetti, but I hope you like spaghetti. So now we just need to check, to do the rest of it. So when you're loading the equipment, we are comparing a string, but right now we just need to change this to if there's no longer strings, there's integers. So if this equals to -1, then that means it's going to be an empty slot. Otherwise, as you can see, the update equipment slot needs to have an item ID, which to find the item ID we should do item instance, inventory instance decision dot, no, we have already the decision dot get, well, this is a weapon since it's on the right hand, get weapon inventory dot right hand weapons. Now this might not be the most performant way to do all of this. We'll have to check. Actually, I don't know, it might be, this will be item ID now, it might be, but we will have to check if we want to be entirely safe. Well, okay, it's not something we're going to worry about right now, because it only happens when you open and load your inventory. Okay, so who cares? It's only going to happen one frame over every time you open your inventory. Not every time you open your inventory, every time you're going to actually change something into your equipment. Okay, so nobody cares. Let's do the same for this. Equals minus 1. Equipment slot, this slot, this stays the same, and this will be like this again, left hand weapon, and this instance dot item ID. Okay, let's see the final errors we have. This is no longer viable, as you can see, and this will be -1, and actually the icon is already going to have this, so this is not even necessary anymore, because if it's null, it's going to have -1 already. Let's close that. Let's find the other errors. The other issue we have over here is this, load weapon item. So we need to actually find the item from over here, and to do that we need to have the item inventory instance. Let's call it instance session dot get weapon item. We already have it. Get weapon item. It's going to be icon ID inside your ID. The weapon ID right now is going to be instance dot item ID, and this again is going to be your weapon ID. Let's say the rest. And the rest are for the consumable items, which we haven't done anything to fix those. So let's see what the other ones are. Clear EQ slot. This will now be -1. Update EQ slot, item ID. We don't want the item ID right now. Don't want this at all anymore, actually. Oh yeah, we need it from over here. Yeah, we'll also need to change this. So this needs to be an integer. From the integer, get the item. Let's call this unique ID. Unique ID, which is also going to be assigned over here. And from the item, from the unique ID, find the item instance. Inventory instance, call it instance, session manager, session. Oh, yeah, this don't have. Do a singleton dot get. Yeah, we need to have this as well. Damn it. Anyway, so okay, let's do this differently. Change all of this to null. Then do a switch with the item type. Okay, and you have your weapon, and say, oops, instance equals session manager singleton get weapon item, pass the unique ID, do the same for the consumable, get con item. Of course, over here you should do if instance equals null, do a return, and instead of you have the item ID, now the item ID is actually going to be your instance dot item ID, item type and unique ID, which also goes to say that this needs to change now. Well, not this. Yeah, this also needs to change, but it also needs to change few stuff above. Okay, so for example, we instead of passing the item ID, pass the unique ID. Then let's uncomment this. Let's uncomment the entirety of this. Or let's comment, not uncomment. And over here, this will also be now the unique ID. And if we are lucky, which I don't believe we would be, of course, let's see what else we need to change. Yeah, this has to do with the gestures, with which are, yeah, this is kind of silly. We don't need any of this. So here's a hack we're going to do. We have a gestures manager. Okay, so let's say that let's say strings, not strings. Yeah, we need to return a string. We're going to say integer to animation, pass the integer I, and you're going to say that switch I case 0, not break, we don't have a break, return. Just write one thing over here. I don't really care to fix this at the moment, otherwise return okay, I don't really care to fix this at the moment, as I said. Integer to anim, and this will just be gestures. Now the gesture is okay. Oh no, Adam. Gestures container, target animation. Instead of a target animation, just turn this into an integer. Target animation. Okay, let's not do that. Let's just add public integer. Or actually, you know what? They don't even have to be. Or do they? Yeah, they do they, because we have the gestures ID. So let's compromise and say that your icon base, let's say string container. Going back, oops, not that back, over here, the ID is just going to be 0. Okay, we don't really care, or actually you don't even have to set it up, but the icon dot string icon dot string container is going to be gestures I dot string target animation. Okay, I don't think we're actually using this though anywhere, hopefully, but let's see. So this just creates the gestures, and let's select gesture, index, gesture content, gestures, base, Okay, set parents, handle gestures, don't want this. We don't even want this anymore. Get gesture, you pass the ID, which this ID is probably the... Yeah, we don't use this. Well, I don't even know what we're doing. Yeah, we're using the target animation entirely, so the icon base is not even necessary, so this just can go from where it came from. Useless. And delete this as well. And if there is errors with the gestures, we're going to find them later. Okay, so out of a miracle, this worked. Let's see if it's going to play if we hit play though. And of course it doesn't. Let's see why though. Oh, well, first of all, we forgot to assign the game manager inventory UI. Let's do so. Let's hit play now. Okay, and let's see what is out of range. The first thing on the list is 914 on the inventory UI. 914 is going to go in here somewhere. 14. Return weapon slot index. Let's see where this comes from. Actually, oh yeah, this hasn't yet initialized. Inventory UI hasn't not initialized yet. So we need to also initialize the first thing we also need to do is also, damn it. Okay, we're going to do, I think we're just going to need these two to run independently from this. So run before actually. Let's see. Public void pre-init, create UI elements, paste it in here. Actually, let's take all of this. Yeah, I think that's not going to work actually. Again, because I'm pretty sure one of these is going to need create UI, or maybe it doesn't. Yeah, we might be in the clear for this. I guess we'll see. We'll have to see. Season manager. Let's go on the awake singleton inventory UI pre-init. So this will actually create your UI before you run the rest of the stuff. At least it gives us a new error instead of a previous one. And that's strange. Let's see what this actually is. 86. It's a null reference from what I can see. But where? On the resources manager. Interesting. Oh. Yeah, that's probably the problem. The resource manager probably hasn't yet initialized as well. Normally what you do in this case, you just push everything on start, but we already have a lot of things in start, which I don't want to mess even more. So we Let's see the awake. What do we have here? What items? Yeah, this also needs to run before everything else. Okay. Counter. Compromise. Init, which let's call this pre-init, which is going to mean the awake, and we're going to remove everything from the awake in here. We're going to pass this down here. Okay, so we're basically going to have a singleton manager, well, some kind of a singleton manager, and over here we can say public resources manager. Let's call it RM. It's also going to be public. So rm dot pre-init. So the session manager is actually going to initialize all these two singletons, which also means we should have on the game manager. Let's actually pass all this game object can be underneath the game manager, because why not, which is also the season manager. Okay, clear that. Assign the resources manager. Let's see now. So that means it wasn't the resources manager the issue. Vendor manager, and see over here, inventory UI. This probably comes from load equipment. No, load equipment, vendor manager, inventory UI, load equipment. Okay, that's not it, and that's not it either. So it's probably one of these. Yeah, there's some kind of an issue which I can't place. That comes from the input handler, and this comes from the. Let's start debugging. Bug.log resources manager dot, unless this is the culprit. So let's say if it equals null, which is false and true. What? Yeah, so this is the culprit, because we have two weapons, and one weapon doesn't probably exist. It might be an unarmed weapon. We'll find out in just a second. So simply debug.log rh weapons I. The first one exists, remember that. So the second one will not exist. Second number we're going to get is going to be the problem, and the problem is -1. Okay, which means get weapon item inventory instance. All this returns you null. Okay, and which means above this, if we do a unique ID, now we can handle this two ways. We can say if unique ID, okay, let's do it like this. I guess we can have on start inventory instance unarmed item, and because I know we're going to need it, item inventory instance empty item. Okay, and over here we're going to say if unique ID equals -1, return unarmed item. Unarmed item. We of course need to initialize the unarmed item as well, Let's do the same over here. If unique ID equals minus 1, return unarmed, or not unarmed, empty item. Let's first initialize this before we do anything else over here. So we're going to say unarmed item equals new item inventory instance. Actually, void init empties. Just to be a little bit cleaner. Okay, unarmed item dot item ID unarmed item dot unique ID, let's go with -1, and then empty item new unarmed empty item dot item ID empty and empty item unique ID, even though we're never going to use the unique ID. Oops. I'm just assigning it to -1, so you know, just to be consistent with our ID system. So this should fix this error. And it does. Okay. Now, even if we did all of this, we haven't done one more thing, I guess. We also have one more error. We cannot open our UI. Let's see why. And whoops, there is no input from what I can see. Oh, and yeah, I know why. Because we assign the input with an integer, but with a singleton, but on this state there hasn't been an input yet. Close that, let it compile. You can see that compiling times have increased dramatically. And okay, we have now back all our inventory. Don't click in any of these and in the consumable items, just on the sorts, otherwise this is probably going to give you errors. But you will see that I can still just keep adding and keep adding. The thing is though that the unique ID changes depending on the slot they are, or well, hopefully they change. So that means we need to, when we are actually changing the items in the inventory UI, let's find it. Load item slot, load with one item. Let's find it. Handle slot input. Yeah, it's over here. Where we're changing this. And after that, when we are loading the equipment, eventually, we're going to come in here and say, we have our instance and we are updating the equipment slot. Okay, so if instance dot let's go directly to slot is not equals null, then clear or equip slots UI dot clear equipment slot. The slot we have is of course the slot it's already assigned on your item instance, and the item type, you're going to be surprised, but it's going to be a weapon. Let's take again, copy all this, paste it down here. We don't need to change anything. Well, okay, we can encapsulate a bit more, but anyway, who cares? Okay, and this shouldn't fix it yet. We need to do one more thing when we are when we're updating the slot, yeah, we need to be also assigning this one. So let's see over here. Okay, if instance slot is not empty, well, clear the previous slot, but you also need to do on the instance the slot, it's going to be the slot you are right now. Let's see if we also have the instance dot unique. No, the unique ID is for, yeah, this actually might work as it is. Let's do this also for the left hand. Save, minimize, hit play. And voila. Okay. And yeah, it doesn't work exactly. We still have them. We need to yeah, we need to be clearing also our previous list, I guess. But we are halfway there again, at least. So let's see what we need to change. On to our controller. Let's close the state manager, we don't need him. Mobile items, yeah, okay, let's make the clear EQ slot. Yeah, we also need to remove something, or well, the entries from the inventory. I have load equipment. Okay. So instead of just, yeah, actually, let's just do it all like this. Entry. Sometimes it's just harder to think of variable names. So this is going to be the integer, or well, the position on list. Let's call it, yeah, I guess in short it's going to be the index instead of just writing. Or actually, let's call it equip index. Okay, this is not needed anymore. No, let's keep it. Oh no, actually, let's delete it. We already have a lot of stuff. So this will also need to be deleted. And this, you can see that the starting equipment works over here. And because it works over here, you can also say it dot index, equipment index, is the target index you have over here, which also goes for the right hand. Equipment index equals just the I. Okay, but on your inventory manager now, not only you have to replace the entry you're going to be adding it, you also want to replace any entry you had before, which actually was it? Yeah, which is over here. So what I mean by that, if the slot is not null, actually if it's null, then that means you also want to clear the slot. Okay, we'll do this on a second phase. So which means over here you should be adding Yeah, that's going to happen. So let's call this target, let's make an integer. Target index is going to be your instance dot EQ index. If EQ index, if target index is greater than 2, that means you are on the left hand. Then you're going to search there, otherwise you're going to search here. So let's say, let's have a list of, this is an integer, yeah, integer. No, actually let's do it like this. Which means it's going to be, if your target index is greater than 2, then on your target index do -3, and then on the inventory dot left hand weapons dot remove at the target index. Otherwise, inventory dot right hand weapons dot remove at target index. Okay, this is if there was already in another place. No, actually we don't want to remove, that was a mistake. Target index will be the unarmed, which is -1. Target index equals -1, and the new index will be the eye you have above. Okay, so let's take all of this, copy, and do a paste for this one. Okay, doesn't matter if it's the left hand or the right hand, it's still going to need to happen in here. Let's close that. Let's hit play. Hit start. Okay, on my right hand I have my great sword and nothing else. So over here I'm going to put my great sword. I've actually have more great swords than I want, so just to be safe I'm going to go into my Season Manager. You can see that I have duplicates already, so that means I have 2 great swords in my inventory. I'm just going to delete the items in inventory that sits over there. Okay, I'm also going to delete the shield, so I now have everything I have is unique apart from the sword. Okay, and the items, of course the items don't work right now, so yeah, we don't have to care. So the trick is, if you put something in here and you put it again over here, it will count as a duplicate. It's not going to count as the same item. Okay, this is only for initialization purposes, of course. Thank you. Great sword. Great sword. So, we play. Start. And now I have my sword, my great sword, and my sword. I'm going to change to my great sword down here and something snowballed. But let's see if, yeah, the right hand is basically just switching to an arm, which is basically, yeah, this works fine, the arm sword, but it doesn't work. It basically took one more thing that when, you know, it shouldn't had it, but it worked. At least it worked for the one hand. But also I see that we have a few more issues, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't take them as loaded. Okay, let's debug this a little bit more. Even though we're running close to 1 hour and a half. Hide this and hide, yeah, comment this. I wanted to see what actually happens in the inspector. controller. Okay, so we start. You can see we have the great sword and unarmed and everything is unarmed. Hit play. I'm going to go and change to the great sword again. And for some reason it also took the left hand, as you can see. So if I change now again, we have the left hand, but the actions don't also update, so we need to fix that as well. Yeah, okay, we'll find why the actions don't work. That's not really an issue. The problem is we need to see why it snowballed the other one. Oops. So let's change again great sword, and now it doesn't work again. That's also an issue. I cannot move my great sword for some reason. And we now got an argument out of range. And we're now stuck. Okay, so there is a lot of stuff to fix. Let's delete this, we don't want this. Actually, I want to see if this also happens on the left hand. On the right hand, not the left hand. Over here. Let's put this sword. Yeah, it happens on that one as well. So let's see what do we have missed. On to our inventory UI. When we clear the equipment. Actually, since this will actually run. Left hand weapons, if it's -1, then clear this, okay. Load inventory, instance, get weapon item, clear equipment slot, instance, equipment index. If the target index is greater than 2, then remove it from the left hand, otherwise remove it from the right hand. Okay, this is correct. Update equipment slot. Maybe the issue is something with this, or not maybe, it's definitely one of these. Clear EQ slot, let's see. Now actually I want to see the definition for this. And changes the icon ID back to -1, okay. This looks correct at first. Clear, target index. Yeah, I'm kinda at a complete loss at the moment for this. Or maybe it has to do with, oh yeah. This at first should probably be +3. Otherwise it's just going to assign, it's going to, delete from the right hand. Let's see what this, and maybe this fixes something. Probably a long shot, but you never know. And no, it doesn't. So yeah, the issue, as you can guess, is that if we use the consumable items, will give you this error, the argument out of range, of course, because we haven't changed anything. Let's see if it's position based, or it just happens every time you, change the duplicate. You can keep adding though. No, you cannot keep adding, it just keep changing, which is not really nice. So it's up to 2, as you can see that it happens 2 times. I clicked on the equipment slot again. Yeah, we're getting there. We're still not done though. So I want to check, let's check the actions, if they are correct now. Okay, if you load an item, at least they are correct. Let's load something else. Oh, so it just happens all the time. So it might not be from that issue, it might be from something else. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it's a duplicate or not. Let's see if this now has... Yeah, this has the actions though. So we need to search this a little bit more. Let's find this, where this is called. This is called from all over there, but that's probably, it might be coming from here. No, this is the X input. We want the A input. Inventory icon ID, but for some reason it just runs on everything. This will just replace the indexes. Okay, so this at least should have worked correct. And then when you load your equipment, you go through each one. Oh yeah. That's the, yeah, I think that's the issue, because you run through each one, and actually because you, god damn it, no, this just clears the references. Okay, so I think I might just end the video here, do this off screen, or at least debug it off screen. And because yeah, we've been 5 minutes without really doing anything, but it's probably because this runs on each item, and it's going to see that your last item was placed somewhere else. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. Let's remove all of this. No, not remove all of this. We still need this. Let's remove this. And let's do it for the left hand as well. But what I'm going to do is, before I come over here, I'm going to say for I inventory dot right hand weapons dot count, find the item inventory instance, call it inst, and we basically want this. Check first for slots, if instance dot slot not equals null, and then clear all this, clear all my references first, or clear the slots basically, Maybe this. Yeah, no, this needs to also. Yeah, this actually might work. Let's do the same again for the left hand. Oops. Inventory, left hand weapons. We can encapsulate, and we probably might encapsulate later if we have issues. Left hand weapons. Okay, so this first it's going to clear any slots you have and update their values, and then it's going to let this to basically update your new slots. Okay, let's try this, and if it doesn't, I'm going to debug it off screen because yeah, it's already been a lot of hours without doing much. And yeah, that wasn't too clever, I guess. Yeah, no. What? So every second we add. Yeah, this just feels random. But every second item we add, it clears everything else. So your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, let's stop the video here. We still changed the whole infrastructure. So this is obviously, this was supposed to happen. Let's call it that, because we just changed the whole infrastructure. So you know what you expect when you do so big changes. And yeah, we're going to see what's wrong. Well, I'm going to see what's wrong off screen, and we'll be back with the fix. So you know what to do. In the meantime, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you like to see more, then consider supporting me either on Patreon or via Gumroad, and we'll be having all this fun with with more videos. Let's also see if the gestures are going to play, and they do. So I'll see you next time.